Hi guys, my name is Debmani and I'm from Aussie Maille. Welcome to our chain mail tutorial channel. Hey guys, a big hi, hello, welcome, how are you? Thanks for popping in and spending some time with me. It's been a while since I've been here, so I'm really pleased to be back and chatting with you guys again. So today I'm going to do a redo of an old video. So this one was done originally as a live session on Facebook back on the 4th of March 2017. So it needed a refresh, it wasn't great, so we've decided to go back and redo some of our old videos. Today I'll be teaching you how to do JPL3 or Jen's Pind Linkage 3. Alright guys, let's get into it. Okay, so I've got some sample pieces of JPL3 to show you. So coming up here on the side of your screen will be the ring sizes that I used to make these pieces. They'll also be listed down below in the description tab, but just to run through them quickly with you. So this big chunky one over here, this is 1.6mm wire or 14 AWG and with a ring ID of 4.75mm. The one next to it is 1.2mm wire, 16 AWG with a ring ID of 3.5mm, 18 gauge AWG, 1mm wire, a ring ID of 3mm, and the final one here is 20 gauge AWG, which is 0.8mm wire. This one has a ring ID of 3/32 of an inch or 2.38mm. So JPL is one of those weaves that is AR sensitive. That means it has a very limited range of rings that can be used. Ideally an actual aspect ratio of around about 3 will give you an ideal weave. So to give you some idea, these three ones here have an actual aspect ratio of 3, where this one here has an aspect ratio of about 2.9. So it's a little bit tighter, but it works just as well. Other rings that you can use to do JPL, these are square profile rings. These ones are 16 gauge AWG, which is 1.2mm diameter wire, and these have got a ring ID of 5/32 of an inch. Now the aspect ratio doesn't work the same way with square wire rings, so this is why this is a slightly larger ring ID, but it still works. And another thing you can do with JPL is you can bead it. So these ones here are just 3 different kit versions that we had up on the website. As you can see, we've just used little metallic seed beads and woven it up pretty much the same, just putting a bead on each ring as we add it. So JPL3 seems to be one of those weaves that people consider to be their nemesis, to be quite difficult. So therefore it's often aimed at people who are intermediate mailers or experienced mailers. But the truth is, it's not a particularly difficult weave to do. You just have to pay attention and you have to have the right ring sizes. If you have the incorrect ring sizes, then the weave is not going to hold and it's just going to all unravel for you. So don't be intimidated by people saying, oh my God, JPL3, it's so difficult. It's not particularly difficult. If you take your time, pay attention to where you're placing the rings, which you should be doing anyway, regardless of the weave, and just make sure that you've got the correct ring size. It's a fabulous weave. It's really versatile. It's one of my favorite weaves to wear as a bracelet. It makes really good necklaces for you to just hang a pendant or something off. It's quite useful weave and it's well worth taking the time to learn. Okay, so to start this weave, you're going to need to pre-close one of your rings. Now I'm using the 14 gauge AWG rings here, which is the 4.75mm ID in bright aluminium. So pre-close one of those rings, and on that put a twist tie. Now you're going to need something here to hold on to. So if you don't have a twist tie, if you've got a piece of wire or something, even a paper clip, just something to hold your first ring in place. It also lets you know where your starting point was, okay, which can be important down the line. All right, so once you've pre-closed your first ring and attached your twist tie, you're going to add your second ring. Okay, just like that, straight through there, close it up. This doesn't start to become important until about the fourth ring. So once you've got your ring in place, nestle it so it sits like this in your first ring. And you can see this bit here where the rings overlap. That's called an eye, and that's where we're going to want to put our next ring. So just let go of that, pick up your next ring, and you can pre-open your rings if that will help you. You don't have to open them up as I'm going along like this. So our next ring, we want to drop directly into that eye, okay? Let go of the end there, close our ring up. Now you can see here, guys, that I haven't let go of my ring with my right plier or my dominant hand. And one of the reasons for that is that because when you bring it around and you bring your tail up, it naturally puts everything into position for you. So we're going to come now for our fourth ring, and this is the important ring. And we want to put that into the eye that's formed by the last two rings, which is this eye just in here. Okay, I'm just going to let go with my plier for a moment so I can point that out to you. So this is the eye here, because this is ring number, the ring that we just placed. This is the ring before it. This is the eye that's formed by those two overlapping. And we also want it to go below the other ring that's in the eye there, in this case our first ring, okay? So a couple of things to remember, but not too complicated, okay? So we've got our eye here. We're going to put our next ring in underneath the ring that's already in place. We're going to close that up. We're not going to let go with this ring here on the right. We're going to pick that up. We're going to separate out those two rings in the middle so that we can see that eye there. That eye there underneath this ring here, that's where we're going to put our next ring. So again, opening up another ring, we're going to put it in there, in the eye, underneath the ring that's already in the eye. We're going to let it go, close it up, we're going to pick it up, and there, in that eye just there, you can see where we're going to put our next ring. And that is the way that you need to keep going to do JPL3. So again, I haven't let it go. I pick up the end so it's facing me. I separate out the previous two rings so that I can now see the eye down there at the bottom, and I want my next ring to go through that eye underneath the ring that is already in place. Okay, so taking an open ring, I feed it into that eye there underneath the ring that's already in place. I let all that go, I do it up, and then without letting my right hand go, I pick up my tail and I face the weave to me, separating out those previous two rings to the one that I'm holding on to, exposing the eye again underneath the ring that's already in weave, and we pop the next one in. And that's it. That is JPL3. So you just need to be very aware and very consistent with your placing. Don't suddenly start spinning it a different way, or putting the rings up the top instead of underneath. If you do that, then you'll change the twist of the weave. So again, I found the eye. I'm going to put my ring in there, making sure it nestles underneath the previous ring. Close it up. Without releasing my right hand, I'm going to bring my tail up, separate the previous two rings so they sit one on side of my thumbnail there. In that space in there, that's where I'm going to pop the next ring. Okay. Now you can see the pattern that's forming here, and this is the way, one of the ways that you make sure that you've got JPL correct. So I'll show you in a piece that's already completed. If you have a look at these rows, you can see this row here slants from the bottom up, from the bottom up, from the bottom up. That pattern is repeated all the way around. When you twist it to the next ring, it goes from the top down, from the top down, from the top down. When you twist it to the third ring in our weave, it goes from the bottom up, from the bottom up, from the bottom up. So if you ever find that you've woven a piece and you've got two rows that are saying going from the top down, you know that you've like two rows next to each other, you know that you've woven it incorrectly, that you've got a false JPL. If it only bends in one direction, not all directions like this one, odds are again you've woven false JPL. So you just need to make sure that you can see this pattern. So top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom, and that follows all the way along the weave. So you can see that there's a slight twist to it because it is spiraling around. Just straighten that out so you can see that row, and you can see that all those rings there follow the same pattern. So that's how you make sure that you're going along with JPL. And it will pay to make sure you're doing that all the way along. You know, stop, go back, have a look at your work, because it is very easy to put a ring in the wrong spot and change the spiral. All right, so let's say you've put this down and you want to pick it up and start again. So you've had to put your weave down before you got it finished, and you want to work out which is the right position to start in again. So pick your ring up and you're looking for your final ring here, the ring that we just placed. And if you remember, when we were placing the rings, we were separating out our previous two rings and we were putting it in underneath. So if we were to do that here, we would actually put our ring out of pattern, okay? Because this row here, the row facing us, you can see here that the ring starts at the top and goes down the bottom. So we're looking for the pattern where the ring starts at the bottom and goes up to the top. So if we were to move that around to over here, separate out those two rings, you can see now that this row here goes from the top to the bottom. This is where we want to start putting our rings in again. Okay, so we just put our ring in there underneath the ring that was previous, and we close that up. Okay. If I was to do it the other way around, it would change the twist of the weave, and it would break the pattern, and you would see that further along. So that's one of those things you've got to keep an eye on, that you're putting, if you do put it down, that you're putting the ring in the correct place. If though you weave it so that you don't ever actually put it down, if you keep this in your right hand, you don't need to worry so much about the placement, because when you let that end go to close your ring and then pick it up, it naturally spirals into the direction that you want it to be in. Okay, and we just know that we need to pop the next ring in underneath the ring that's already in weave. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you guys. So I'll show you, if I was to put it over here, okay, so it looks like that it can go there, and I go and pop it in here down the bottom like I have been doing, and I do that up, and I go along and I do that for a few rings. Okay, and you can see it's allowed me to do it. And I'll put another couple in just so we've got enough to look at. And I think I'm going on my merry way, and I think I haven't done anything wrong, and everything's great. I'll get one more in. And then we go back here and we have a look at our chain, and you can see that our chain has changed. Okay, so this row here that's facing us, it's gone from the bottom to the top, bottom to the top, bottom to the top, bottom to the top, and now suddenly it's top to the bottom. Okay, top to the bottom. And you can see just as you move around the weave that the spiral has gone wonky. Okay, so there's no real way of fixing that except to go back and pull that out. So make sure you just keep that in mind if you do put it down, that you need to make sure that you're following the pattern of the rings previous, otherwise it will ruin the weave basically. Okay, so you just need to take it back. We're looking for the end ring here. It's nestled into our previous ring. You can see that it's staying within pattern there. When we separate out the previous two rings, there's the space there. Underneath, it'll keep it all in pattern, and away you go. Okay, so you just need to keep an eye that you're keeping that pattern all the way through. And as I said, I recommend that you stop and go back and double check your work. Otherwise, you might get to the end and discover that you've put a ring the wrong way, and you have to go back and pull it all apart. But that's it, guys. That's all there is to JPL3. Alright guys, well that's it. That's the video for today. I hope you found it helpful, and if you took one thing away from this video, it is that you don't need to be anxious or concerned about JPL3. You'll be fine. Just breathe and keep weaving. Alright guys, thanks for popping in today. While you're here, don't forget to check out some of the other videos that we have for you. We've got plenty of here for you to look at. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, that would be fantastic. And last but not least guys, don't forget to give our love up here for our shop link. That's where we sell all the bits and bobs and you know what's you're going to need to make up this weave and many others. Alright guys, thanks once again. I hope you're keeping safe, and that I'll see you again sometime in the very near future. Bye.